Hi there, everybody. This is Lee, and I've been seeing rumblings online in terms of the repeal of the Affordable Care Act that there are also efforts to defund Planned Parenthood and to restrict access to contraceptives and reproductive services for women. And I think that what a lot of men who make up the majority of Congress, even though women make up the majority of the American electorate, the voting, working, tax-paying electorate is mostly women, who are apparently subsidizing and funding and paying the salaries for men who, in response, are creating legislation to oppress them. Um, it's interesting. A lot of men who do not use Planned Parenthood services don't seem to realize that Planned Parenthood is not only a place where women go to get access to abortion. Women use Planned Parenthood also to have access to yearly gynecological exams. Women who may not be of childbearing age, they may be younger or they may be older, outside the range for bearing children, they still use Planned Parenthood for female health services that do not include abortion. They go there for breast exams to see if they have tumors, to see if they have cancer. These are services that are being defunded. They use Planned Parenthood to check on things like cervical cancer, ovarian cancer, these things that are silent killers if you do not catch them in time. And so, yearly exams. And Planned Parenthood is where people go to get access to basic contraception if they don't want to have 20 children in the course of a lifetime. They go there for access to affordable contraception that they otherwise cannot pay for. Medicaid is one of the main providers of these types of the funding for these types of services via Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is one of the major providers for low income women for these services. And to defund Medicaid and then Planned Parenthood at the same time and to criminalize access to these services is actually a direct threat to the health of women. Where women go to receive these services if not Planned Parenthood? Where are they supposed to go? And so it seems like a very direct attack on the health and welfare of women is actually underway in a misguided attempt to inflict a very twisted sense of morality on women in general. And so it's kind of getting out of control. It's starting to resemble something out of The Handmaid's Tale. And if some of you who are viewing this video know that book, it's by Margaret Atwood. She's a Canadian writer. And many people read that in high school, the fact that there's a dystopian future where women are enslaved and forced to bear children for the state, whether they want to or not. And so their reproduction is controlled by the state, and they are unable to have autonomy or self-determination over how their bodies will be used. And so there's an underground railroad. The women sneak out of the country because they cannot bear to live in that society where they are controlled. Their sexuality is controlled, their reproduction is controlled, their health is controlled by the state government or the federal government. And so they leave. It's a theocracy, and so they escape. And so, if we're headed that direction, in certain states like Kentucky, where there was legislation immediately passed by Republican state legislature and then signed into law by Republican governor, that had many anti-choice measures. And so it might be the case that there needs to be an underground female railroad leading out of the state of Kentucky into other states where there is more legislation and allowance of autonomy over reproductive decisions in other states, that you might have to just carry your tax dollars outside of the state of Kentucky rather than subsidizing a government that's hostile to you. So these are decisions every woman has to make themselves. If your government does this to you, then what will you do in response? And there's other ways of looking at this too. There's also, the Handmaid's Tale, which it seems like some people read and saw as a warning, and then other people read and said, "Hey, what a great idea." So, there's other, types of fiction. For instance, Lysistrata. It's a comedy. It's a play written in long ago ancient times by Aristophanes. And in it, long story short, women decide to go on a sex strike in order to force the men to stop fighting. The women want peace. They want an end to war. They want an end to violence. And the method that they use to cause that to happen is to withhold female services from the men in the society, and then that's how they respond. And that's fiction, but in real life, this has been used as a type of civil disobedience, nonviolent, peaceful protest against endless war that's causing death and destruction and violence. The women decide to go on a sex strike to end the war. This happened in Liberia. 14 years of war, violence, death, destruction, harm to families, to communities. The women went on a sex strike and got what they wanted, and even nominated a female head of state, Ellen. I think her name is Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And so it it's happened. It can happen, and this might be another measure, whether it's in the state of Kentucky, whether women are either leaving on the Underground Female Road out of the state of Kentucky, or they're withholding services because they don't have a way to maintain their reproductive health. Then maybe they have to respond by withholding certain services from the men in the state of Kentucky. Whatever you feel you need to do. All I can say is good luck, and maybe let you look in the description so you can learn more about how such things have been done in the past. I'm not saying doing it, I'm just saying it has been done. Good luck.